All right, I was asked to do a video of this, which also goes along with your spreadsheet that you will find in Blackboard. So hopefully you found it's this exact sheet. Okay, so hopefully you found this in there. I promise you, if you will learn to use Excel, you will see this will be a lot easier. And so what I've done here is this first column is the information that they've given me. So the daily low temperatures, 55 to 59, the frequency, say 1 day, 60 to 64, 3 days, and so on. And the first thing I want to do is I want to find the class width. Well, the class width, I can take any of, say this, and this is what I did here, I can take any of this lower one and subtract it from that lower one, 60 minus 55, and you might say, well, what if I didn't pick that one? Well, pick 80 minus 75 or 85 minus 80, and you'll see you just continue to get the same answer. And so that gives me my class width, which in other words is the difference between the two consecutive lower class limits or the two consecutive lower class boundaries. All right, and so in other words, I just picked those two right there. All right, next I'm going to find my class midpoints, which are found by adding the upper limit plus the lower limit and then divide by 2, okay, to get the midpoint. So in other words, this 57 came from me taking 59 plus 55, adding that, and then dividing by 2. And so then the next one's 62 then, of course, would come from 64 plus 60 divided by 2. And you'll see that's what I did in the spreadsheet. If you click on these cells in the spreadsheet, you'll see that actual formula of what I did. And so you get all of your midpoints. Now, most students struggle the most with the class boundaries, and it has a lot to do with, let me get rid of some of this junk, it has a lot to do with missing the lower and the upper. So a class boundary just simply separates the classes. And we like to say, so let's say we have our temperatures and we can see that they start here at 55. And then we go to the next one, which starts at 60, and then the next one, 65, and so on. And so our boundary, we're actually saying, you know, how close can we get here, you know, because in this case, temperatures are not discrete data, but what we do is we have this technique that we find the second boundary by taking the average of the upper class limit plus the boundary of the lower class next to it and divide by 2. So in other words, this says take this 59 and add the 60. And so I'm looking at this one right here. I'm going to take 59 plus 60, divide by 2. And I get 59.5, which you can see is right here. I can do that for the next one, the 64.5. I get this by taking 64 plus 65 and divide by 2. And I do this throughout, okay? And so then at the end here of my data, you can see that my data, you know, continues to go out here, and I get to my 80 and then my 85, but this actually goes out to 89 where it stops. So what I found is I found all these in-between values, okay, meaning these right here. But I also need to adjust for the left side and the right side of my data. And so how I end up adjusting for that is I can see each one of these. If I go from 59.5 to 64, that's 5. If I go 64.5 to 69.5, that's 5, and so on. So all I have to do is subtract 5, and then I get back here at the 54.5, and then do the same thing to get this right hand side one. Is if my last one I left off here was at 84.5, well, if I add 5 to that, I get my last value of 89.5. But I cannot stress enough, if you will use Excel, okay, and if you're new to Excel, definitely ask me questions, ask me for help. But the big key to Excel is everything that you want it to calculate for you, you start with an equal sign. And if you go in and you just click on some of these values here, you will see I did not type 59.5. You will see I actually typed 59 plus 60 in parentheses, so it did it first, and then divided by 2. But continue to ask me questions about, one about the problems, but certainly about using Excel, because I want you to be very proficient in using Excel.